Thank you for joining us for the Virginia meeting. Thank you. Welcome all. It's good to have everybody here in person today, and thanks to those who are joining online virtually. Just a reminder, if you can remain muted, that would be great throughout the meeting to make sure we have decent audio for everyone to hear. So we will call the meeting to order. And before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to do some introductions. We've got some new faces around the table. First would be to welcome the new director of the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, and that is Dr. Tamara Holmes. Prior to her appointment as director, Dr. Holmes served as the director of the Office of Broadband at DHCD, where she led one of the nation's most ambitious statewide broadband initiatives. And under her leadership, Virginia made historic progress toward universal connectivity, leveraging innovative funding strategies and public-private partnerships to position broadband as an essential infrastructure supporting economic growth, workforce access, healthcare delivery, educational attainment, and quality of life in rural and underserved communities. Per the board bylaws, Director Holmes serves as the secretary of our board here, and I look forward to working with you in this capacity. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Holmes. So welcoming someone here. So Secretary Chenry sends her regards. She's unable to join us today, but she's been briefed on the meeting materials and looks forward to participating on our board. But in her stead today, we have Turner Widgeon, her chief of staff. So we are happy to have you. Ms. Widgeon previously served as Senior Business Investment Manager at BDP, and prior to that, she served as the Chief Operating Officer for the Business Network for Offshore Wind. And she brings a wealth of experience to the Secretariat, having served in various roles during the North administration, including Deputy Secretary. So, welcome to you. Thank you for being here today. And we just received appointments from Speaker Scott, and so happy to say that we are welcoming back delegates Terry Kilgore and Michelle Maldonado. So happy to have you as official members again, continuing your service. And we are excited to welcome a new member, Delegate Virgil Jean Thornton Sr. And Delegate Thornton represents the 86th district, which includes part of York County and part of Hampton and the city of Pocosa. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Good. Great. Well, we are excited to have you. Look forward to working alongside you in this new capacity. And so please join me in welcoming. Sure. That's all. Good afternoon, members of the Virginia State Board. I'll be conducting the roll call of Nancy Agee, Reggie Argwall, Jim Chang,
Here.
Ben Davenport,
Here.
Senator Craig Deeds,
Here.
Bill Dobson,
Here.
Cliff Fleet,
Here.
Haywood Braylon,
Here.
Joel Griffin,
Here.
Kenneth Johnson,
Here.
Delegate Terry Kilgore,
Here.
John Kane,
Here.
Senator Luis Lucas. Recognize that she's participating. Delegate Michelle Maldonado here. Senator Ryan McDougal. Emily O'Quinn here. John Peterson. Fuad Kratom. Thomas Ransom.
Here.
Delegate Luke Torian.
Here.
Delegate Virgil Thornton.
Here.
This time, we'd like to open the floor for public comment. Sheriff, can you please recognize any members of the public who would like to make public comment?
Yeah, we have not received any public comments, and there are no members that would like to give public comment.
Okay, and no written comments either?
No members.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close the public comment period and move into the rest of the agenda. So for our consent agenda item, you'll find one item there. It is the minutes from our December 9th board meeting. Would any member like to make a motion to approve those minutes as presented? Second. We have a motion properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Next, we have a presentation on an exciting topic, and I'd like to extend a welcome to Andrew Sinclair, Vice President of Public Policy at the Virginia Chamber, and Mike Malone of Economic Leadership LLC to present some findings from the Go Virginia funded competitive planning effort, the Virginia AI Landscape Assessment. So Andrew and Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. As introduced, I'm Andrew Sinclair. I'm the Vice President of Public Policy at the Virginia Chamber. I came over to the Virginia Chamber last summer. Happy to see a couple of our board members, joint board members represented as well. And really came on with one of my big projects to manage the development of Blueprint Virginia 2035. Was not aware of the AI landscape study component at the time that I started, but jumped into it. And as we had some changes, really wrapped my arms around and really proud of the work that we were able to do along with economic leadership. And I'm going to limit my remarks to be relatively brief to set up Mike to be able to go into depth. But not only the work that the landscape study itself is, but how that was able to integrate into the work of Blueprint Virginia 2035 overall. Also happy to be with all of you at Go Virginia and proud of the work that you all do for the Commonwealth. Early in my career, I worked at what I think is one of the predecessors, maybe pilot programs of Go Virginia under the old regional competitiveness program that hopefully some lessons learned really make the work that's done here so good. So thank you for each of you and your leadership in that regard too. Do I use this? There we go. You're driving.
Yes.
Okay. So for those who aren't familiar, and I hope most of you are, Blueprint Virginia is the Virginia Chamber's strategic plan for the Commonwealth. Move back. Yeah. Strategic plan for the Commonwealth that we deliver every 4 years to the governor-elect. So Blueprint Virginia 2035 is the fourth iteration of this, and really have built upon that history to really how do we position jointly the chamber, the business community, and the governor and the General Assembly, Virginia to be the best state for business. And so as part of that, again, want to recognize you and specifically the leadership in regions 2 and 3. And I see John back there for funding the work of the AI study. And so if we can go to the next slide. One of the things from within overall Blueprint and contributing to the AI study is that we were able to really engage across all of Virginia. I think there are timings set on here, and I think that's part of our challenge. Maybe that's my cue to talk faster. We were able to engage over 10,000 Virginians throughout the process, and that was through industry councils meetings, specific industry meetings, as well as a regional tour that went into each of the Go Virginia regions at least once. We had 14 of these regional meetings to really make sure we were surveying the overall Commonwealth and representing the recommendations of the business community across the entire Commonwealth. And that engagement included that live engagement, as well as statewide surveys for those who couldn't attend live events and industry-specific surveys. Okay, and with that, I'll go to the next slide. The work of that then was broken down into 9 focus areas. You can see those on there. I won't go into them, but approximately 30 AI recommendations appear across 5 of those topic areas. So there were 171 total recommendations, about 30 of those AI specific, and those appear in the business climate, in the education and workforce, and infrastructure, and innovation and technology, and in the military and veterans affairs. Each of those AI recommendations were informed by and aligned with the work that Mike will talk about with the landscape specific study. And we go to the next slide. I did want to highlight within the innovation and technology priorities, there was a set of AI, not only were they throughout, but a group of AI recommendations identifying that as a key area. And one more slide. These are those 6 recommendations. So really, how do we digitize and implement AI solutions throughout government? How do we develop programs for trustworthy and responsible AI in business operations? Having a uniform set of federal regulations. Importantly, workforce training resources, AI curricula in the classroom, and then training for business processes as well. And so those are I say those 6 are the ones that we would lift up, and that's where I think you'll see a lot of the parallels with the work that Michael go over. My one more slide then is just hopefully, if you haven't already accessed Blueprint Virginia, you can go to blueprintvirginia.org, or you can access this QR code and pull down the information there and dive into it at your leisure after the meeting. I'm happy to stay and take questions, but I'm going to hand it to Mike so he can go over the specifics of the research that his team led on our behalf.
Okay. Thank you very much, Andrew, and welcome. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm Mike Malone. I'm a partner in an economic development consulting firm. We're a national practice, North Carolina based, but we've, through our 13 years as a firm, done a lot of work in Virginia. The Virginia Manufacturers Alliance has engaged us to do a manufacturing index, and Virginia performs very well on that. We've done some regional work around the state and a number of other projects. I've got a couple more if you can skip forward, please. Maybe, yeah. This is a little about our firm. Again, we work nationally, and so we can bring a national perspective to what states and regions and localities are doing on a number of issues that affect economic competitiveness. And there's no issue being talked about more, I don't think, than AI and what it means for workers, what it means for businesses, what it means for policy making and policies, what it means for the economy. And so this project, we were really pleased to be engaged to conduct an AI landscape assessment. Now, what does that mean? I think y'all helped define what an AI landscape assessment should be. I understand at y'all's board retreat last year, there was a lot of talk about AI and the need to understand more about it and what assets and organizations and training capacity exists in the state, start to forecast what some of the workforce needs and workplace implications might be, get our arms around where Virginia is at a point in time as it relates to this truly transformational technology. And so as we launched into this project, we pretty quickly realized Virginia's the first state to think about it this way. Some states are wringing their hands and worried about, what AI is going to do, and they're putting up some barriers or roadblocks. We need guardrails, but some states are also looking at it and talking about what business opportunities there are related to AI. In Virginia, you're talking about it very holistically. What are the workplace and workforce impacts and opportunities? And it's the and opportunities that I think is a real differentiator in how y'all are talking about it. And so, again, as Andrew mentioned, Regions 2 and 3 funded a planning grant, came together to do that. They funded the state chamber, who engaged us. Sarah, did you have? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Sorry, if we just have anybody online, please mute your lines. We're getting a little feedback. Thank you.
This is absolutely imperative that we move fast. And so credit to you for being forward thinking and saying, let's take a look at this. I'm also encouraged with all the action that we discovered and learned about as part of the project. And then the last point, I think that's really important. Virginia's at a great place as it relates to both mitigating AI impacts and building on AI opportunities because of your well-trained workforce, organizations like Go Virginia and others that are already leaning into thinking about what the opportunities and implications are, your tech infrastructure, the data centers and fiber connectivity, so many advantages. If you move fast, if you can take some of these important steps, this should be a real opportunity, and you can help mitigate some of the impacts as we go. So So we were engaged last May, and this feels like kind of the end of the process for me, but 10 months of work. It was really the work finished, and we turned in this report in January. And it's organized with these elements, these 7 core elements. We did a literature review to understand the state of the research. And the research is fast moving as well. Read a brand new report that came out this morning from one of the major AI firms, Anthropic. That's great information. I wish we had it to include, but it's fast breaking and the research is continuing to evolve. We did a lot of listening, stakeholder engagement around the state. I'll tell you more. We mapped what your assets are. What do you have that's AI supportive? Infrastructure that's needed to help build and attract AI related businesses or to help your existing businesses use AI. So we did a lot of understanding what resources you have. We forecasted impacts, and I know that those are a lot of the headlines that people want to talk about, but all of these together is really what the story is. We made 34 strategic recommendations for the Commonwealth. And then we weren't engaged to go deep into each region and do region by region work, but we did do some high level forecasting of potential impacts across the 9 Go Virginia regions as well. So, okay, so we did a lot of listening as part of the process. I mentioned some of these already, but at each of the Go Virginia meetings, except the first one, we weren't under contract for the very first one. And I wish I didn't get to region 1 because that was one of the first meetings, but I hope to get back there soon. We surveyed folks at the Blueprint tour stops. We did interviews, and we absolutely interviewed people across all 9 regions, and then an online survey. And then the last bullet I want to mention, we had a working group, and it was made up of all the Go Virginia regional directors. It included key officials from each of the regional councils, some state agency officials, and elected officials. Delegate Maldonado, you served on the working group, and that group met 3 times, gave us feedback as we presented the research and the stakeholder data that we were collecting. And you asked great questions and helped improve the work product. So thank you for serving on that working group. So a little bit about the research. This is a high-level summary of the research as it relates to business opportunities. And again, I want to stress, there are going to be impacts from AI and their opportunities. And so what we found, or what the research is finding so far, is it's not displacing jobs for the most part. It's changing the tasks in a person's day. How many of y'all have used AI in something you do in the last week or so? So yeah, more than half the room has used AI. It's changing how we do our work. And then this last point is really important, and this is especially important in Virginia. With 850,000 businesses of 250 employees or less, small and mid-sized firms don't have the same kind of resources, training capability, in-house tech workers that can help deploy AI at scale. The small and mid-sized businesses know that AI is a real resource that can help them be more profitable, be more efficient, but they need some capability and technical assistance and support. Big firms, and in our interviews, we heard a real distinction. A lot of big firms said, oh yeah, we have 100% training requirement for all the workers at our firm. Or we have model policies and procedures that we've dispersed throughout our organization. Small and mid-sized businesses are craving that as well. So a little more on the research, and this relates to jobs. The national research, or really the global research, is that 20 to 30% of all occupations are going to be impacted by AI. Some jobs that are purely manual labor aren't going to be impacted significantly. But the general research is finding 20 to 30% of occupations will be impacted. And I got to stress, that doesn't mean 20 or 30% of jobs are going away. Impacted can be good. It can if you can get AI to do some of your repetitive tasks or some lower level activities, that'll free your time up to be more productive or to do higher yielding activities. So impacted does not mean all those jobs are going away. Some will, and we need to be ready to respond to that. But impacted can also mean if we can train people, get them transferable skills, or get them ready to do some higher order work, it can be an opportunity. So, And then higher educated, higher wage and white collar jobs, and also jobs that are more predominantly in larger metro areas seem to be the ones that are more exposed to AI impacts. So I said we did a lot of surveys. We did active listening. Here's just a little bit of the data, and these are some things that I think are relevant to Go Virginia in your regional organizations. Training, the employers said training's not readily available. They didn't know how to access it. It may be there, but they didn't know how to access it. And so visibility to training that exists, and probably more training is needed when you see the scale of the number of jobs that will be impacted. And then how is it training being provided for those 27% that are receiving training? A lot of it's online, or it's, through the training modules themselves, the in-house training programs, and they're not getting their training from local or regional training providers. So that's an opportunity and a need. A little more from the listening, and this is interesting, in thinking about AI from a business perspective. How's AI being used within your organization? Of the businesses we surveyed, more than half didn't have formal policies and procedures. So going back to what I said about, small firms and mid-sized firms, that is especially an issue there. They've got AI, they're starting to use it, their employees may be using it, but they don't have formal policies and procedures. So the employees have some uncertainty, managers are uncertain as well. And then as far as capitalizing on opportunities, very few of the businesses have formally redesigned business processes around these amazing new tools. They're adding them on, they're putting AI on the taskbar on somebody's desktop, or they're just letting people use it. But to really capitalize on the productivity and the new product innovation opportunities with AI, it's going to require some business process redesign. That's a training opportunity for higher ed, for training managers and leaders in companies. So, okay, we forecasted impacts of AI on occupations and industries. And I'll stress again, this doesn't mean these jobs are going away. It just means jobs may change. Some will go away, but some are going to be transformed and maybe made better. So that's 1.553 million jobs in the Commonwealth of Virginia that are potentially going to be impacted by AI. 1.553. It's about 30-something percent. I'll show you in a minute, but 30% of all occupations in the Commonwealth. And these are different job categories. Software developers. The formula that is kind of commonly used for forecasting these things shows that almost 90% of software developers' jobs are going to change because of AI. They've probably already changed in many cases. Next, I'll show you industries. Yes, sir.
Just like on this, the last slide, maybe it was coming up here, is like, for example, lawyers. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And, we're seeing a big impact on lawyers.
Yeah.
Just give an example.
So these are actual numbers. Let's go to the next one and see.
Okay. So you're covering lawyers, like.
There, it's in professional, scientific, and technical. Lawyers are rolled up in that. Yeah. Yeah. But as far as the actual numbers, which was on the last slide, they must be below in actual numbers. Okay, this is by industry. And so, government is such an outsized industry in the Commonwealth of Virginia that I'm not surprised in numbers. This is highest. The formula forecasts only about 30% of government jobs will be impacted overall. If you can go to the next one, it shows you share of industry. And so those top four, more than half of the jobs in those four industries are going to be impacted in some way. Then we looked at it by region, again, using the same underlying formula. Region 7, Northern Virginia, has the highest share, many more professional, government contractors, consulting, those government jobs, white collar jobs there. But Region 5 and Region 4 also are, very large numbers. And these are significant shares when you look at the percentage, because the regions don't have uniform population. And so 35% statewide of jobs will be impacted. Yes, ma'am.
Fine, I know we've got some new members. We don't have to go Virginia map in front of us, so I want you to just pause here for a second. Region 3 is South Side Virginia, really the counties, to the south. Region 1 is Southwest Virginia. Region 6 includes Fredericksburg, the Middle Peninsula, and Northern Neck. Region 9, I would describe as the greater Charlottesville area. Region 8 is the Shenandoah Valley. Region 2 is Roanoke, Blacksburg, Roanoke, Lynchburg. Region 4 is what we would call Richmond, Petersburg, but it actually goes all the way to the North Carolina line in Emporia. Region 5 is Hampton Roads. And Region 7 is Northern Virginia. So I just wanted to contextualize these charts a little bit. We're gonna bring, I think, a big board. If they go Virginia map, we'll have quizzes and things like that, but I just want to, especially for our
Great.
delegate, I want to get you spatially oriented today. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, we don't have a map up here. That's really helpful. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so put all that together. We listen. Oh, yeah, there we go, yeah. It's a slide too late, though. I'm sorry. These are the headlines from what we learned, and this is really what the recommendations are based on. And so, every worker needs AI familiarity and data literacy. Current workers, school kids that will be workers, folks that have left the workforce but want to come back, they're going to need AI familiarity and AI literacy, data literacy. Incumbent workers, and that's the 1.5 million workers that are in jobs already that are going to be impacted. They need training, they need policy guidance, they need use clarity so that they can do all that they can with these amazing tools that are offered to them. And so that's the biggest training need. A lot of our training organizations aren't built to train at this scale, to train 1.5 million workers. We're doing some great training. A lot of institutions are doing good things, but to hit this and to do it well and to give everybody the tools and resources, new training methods and training organizations are going to be needed. There will be workers that lose their jobs. We don't forecast what that number is. I don't see a lot of studies that do, but there will be some. And so they're going to need training to help them transfer their skills into something that's more protected occupation from AI impacts. And so support for displaced workers. So all three of those are about workforce. Recommendation 4, businesses need tools, businesses need training, businesses maybe need some funding support even to be able to deploy AI and make it all it can be for the businesses. And so there's some recommendations around that. And then infrastructure is needed. If you're going to capitalize and attract AI businesses, grow AI businesses, help your businesses use AI to be more successful, you got to have electricity. You got to have, I'd say, R&D tax credits to incentivize companies that are research-based companies. Fiber connectivity is really important, and that's a strength, but need to continue building that. You need sites for industrial development. So there's a whole bunch of infrastructure needs that would allow Virginia to truly capitalize on the opportunities related to AI. So, almost done. 34 total recommendations. I'm not going to read them all to you. I'll show you a link, or I think I already did put up a code to the report, and the report is on the State Chamber's website as well. So you can do AI landscape assessment, State Chamber, and it'll show up. But the recommendations are organized in these 5 goal areas. 3 are workforce related, support for businesses, and infrastructure. And then just a few closing thoughts on what it could mean for Go Virginia, because this is such a powerful organization, representative of the entire state. I love the business, government, and economic developers are all at the same table. It's a beautiful model. But what we did was look at where the state is. We gave you a little bit of region-specific data, but really regions. This is region-specific. Each region's got its own growth and development strategy, target industries identified in those. We've said, okay, here's what's going to happen statewide, but really digging into what training assets, what gaps exist in regions, what assets the regions have to help capitalize on it. regional specific strategies would be a beautiful next step. I would say the Northern Virginia Regional Commission put an RFP out to do a regional strategy. I don't know if it was kind of follow on from this or they were already thinking that, but that RFP's out on the street that to my knowledge, they haven't picked a firm and we put in for that. But I would suggest that regions need to understand what they have and what needs to be put in place to be able to prepare for AI impacts. This is where information flows, so continue doing that. It's a beautiful model. I love seeing AI workforce training grants in your board packet today. And so I hope many more of those come through this because to be able to train at scale for the incumbent workers is maybe the biggest challenge in this whole thing. Supporting businesses through your entrepreneurship and innovation, grant making. Again, I think that's a great opportunity for putting some resources in place to help businesses be successful. And then I know you do infrastructure support and I saw some site prep in your meeting packet as well. So Go Virginia is right at the center of being able to keep Virginia moving forward. And so credit to you for engaging this work, but also for what you're going to do in the future. And that's all I have. And Andrew and I take any questions. Happy to do it. Yeah.
Really interesting.
Thank you.
This is the big report.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of flipped the-
You did. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Members, questions?
It's 127 pages, so we've really boiled it down.
Sure. So this is fantastic, and I love the training component that you guys offered there. It's fabulous there. But I don't hear a lot of talk about that in the space that we're in, working in the same area. There's some customization of AI that has to take place, but I think where there's a true opportunity with the state is a universal certification initiative, where it's based AI training, intermediate and advanced. Because a lot of folks have not addressed that just yet, and that's what's going to be required.
Yeah.
And the state has to lead this effort, because if not, the private sector is going to come up with 20 different USB ports that you have to plug in and work with it and all this other stuff to figure it all out.
Yeah.
So you will need universal certification initiatives.
Completely agree. And, you know, that slide that showed where people were getting their training now, a lot of it's from the technology companies themselves, and they'll be happy to train you up on their technology, but we need people to be.
We're going to tell them to you.
Right, yeah. I would say Virginia Works put out their strategic plan, and they have a really beautiful goal, and I wrote it down because I wanted to read it verbatim. By 2030, we envision that Virginia has the most AI-ready workforce in the country, and that is the vision. And the details, you know, need to be filled in to accomplish that, but you can do that. This with the schools working together, the higher ed institutions, the other workforce training organizations. You can do it with funding. I mean, that's, you know, these programs need funding as well. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what to say, I'm in manufacturing and automation is already.
Yeah.
We're looking at probably 12 to 15% reduction in workforce with automation because, and AI and the machinery already, but the automation. That's why you're seeing like there's the first aluminum plant being built in the United States. It's in Oklahoma right now. We've built, it's 57 years since we built one. We're building one in Oklahoma and Kentucky. But typically something like that would have 700 employees and they're going in about 225 employees.
Yeah.
And again, I did pictures this morning of the machine that I bought. What typically 7 people what their machine does.
Wow.
By itself.
Yeah.
Now, I've never laid off an employee, so it just that gives me opportunity to move people off the assembly line, which is a repetitive job, into some more fabrication or assembly. So it does, in my case, it doesn't replace jobs.
Yeah.
But in these new factories you're being built, that's why even when we see some of these things, and you'll see a new factory being built, even in Virginia. I mean, people are shocked at the number of employees. It's so low compared to what we would have been used to 20 years ago. Steel is another good example. The major steel man guy just has a steel factory, smeltering factory, probably a third of what he would have had 25 years ago.
You made the point I was trying to make about how, yes, it's going to have impacts on jobs, but it can change and transform and create new opportunities. You said that with real world examples way better than I did. I agree completely. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, sir.
Just 2 comments. First one, in universities as an example, is the first layer, and, you know, perfect kind of target market. Any thoughts on how we can get universities?
Yep.
deeper into
So I have some years of higher ed administration in my background as well. Universities are going to need to be nimble because of pace at which the training needs are coming and the technology is evolving. We don't have years to, propose a new degree program, go through the process to build. We're going to need, certifications, maybe not even credit related anything, but just training opportunities or training programs that can be responsive in real time. And so I hope higher ed can, think beyond the degree granting and is really what's going to be needed for a lot. Yes, we need degrees where people have data science backgrounds, robotics training, all engineering is going to matter, especially for AI related businesses and firms. But the training for managers and business process redesign, business schools can lean into
what about
that.
high schools, just curious, because, there's a lot of
Essential, yeah,
movement towards
yeah,
don't
CTE,
necessarily need a college degree
yep.
with AI. So I'm just curious, what's your view?
Yeah, I think this will, the having an encyclopedia and then some at your fingertips through any AI tool you choose is gonna play into that argument that, some people will say, well, you don't need to go to college. You can ask AI or, gain this knowledge from AI. It's all of the above. We're gonna need it all, especially in a state like this that's already got so many technology companies and where the AI firm development opportunities are so great. We absolutely need higher ed. We're going to need the CTE programs, but we're going to need all future workers AI literate and prepared to respond to this.
What are job search?
I'm saying we need it all. I'm not. That's not a real precise answer, but yes, sir. Sorry.
So just, we hired my company, CNET, we hired McKinsey to come in
Mhm.
and do an AI study with us.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, it's very interesting because they came in, we hired them in July, 9 months ago. And they came in and they did a study on us. And what the output was, we took our sales, finance, marketing, behind services, HR, you name it. They range from 25% to 45%. They said you can reduce your workforce by that much. Marketing, sales, you name it, any division said that. No. We thought that was aggressive, and it started in July, and then it took them 4.5 months. And so it was in November. And I remember there was a partner for each division. So there was a person who specialized in marketing and said, I'm helping 100 companies in AI and marketing, right? So they're the expert.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pushed them. I said, so what you're telling me is that I can cut 30% of my staff, because I knew that's not true. And we have the same view that we're going to take those people from on more productive things, they commoditize and so forth. So we're not planning on offering, but we're still hiring pretty aggressively right now. But and then I said, so I guess I should just cut 20% and commit to my board that we're going to do this. And they said, no, that's not what we're saying. And they said it could be pushed it. Well, anyways, they just came up with a new study with us. They just finished 6 weeks ago, and they cut all the numbers in half.
Interesting.
And they took it from what they told us, and within 3 years, you could cut, let's just say 45% of your people, or the efficiency, it shouldn't cut, it should just be your efficiency go to 45%. We're growing, unfortunately, so we can move them, and then they took it now to 3 to 5 years, and they took the numbers literally in half. So it's interesting for McKinsey doing this with companies, and they're seeing the output. Everyone knows AI is moving so fast, it's hard to say, because it's not geometric growth, it's whatever you call it. It's like double geometric growth. So it's hard to say, but I'm just saying McKinsey, who I would argue is certainly one of the leaders in doing that. And so I just wanted to say on the field, this just came out
Interesting.
3.5, 4 weeks ago, how they cut the numbers in half in 3 to 5 years. We called them up. I said, not only do you take the time frame, you did this. And I said, so but is your thesis the same? Because your thesis is now saying it's 25% and 20. And we actually are aligned. We think that's what you get is 20 to 25%. I can't tell you 5 years from now. But it was just interesting how fast it's moving. The top firms are coming and saying everything can be replaced. The reality of it, it's a much slower process than maybe some people say.
Reminds me of one piece of literature or a research thread that I dug into, that researchers are finding that AI enhances productivity. So somebody can automate some of their tasks, they should be more productive. And so, maybe you don't need as many workers, but most firms aren't satisfied just doing what they're doing with the same book of business or the same products that they're manufacturing or developing. It's the AI product development opportunities that you can develop new products more quickly using AI, but that creates new work and you need workers to be able to, take those new products to market or manufacture those. So it's not all productivity and cuts. It's not all, magic and rainbows that, all these new things are going to happen and money's going to rain down. It's all of that and then some, but because it's coming so fast and because of the scale, the number of jobs, the number of industries that are going to be impacted, we need all hands on deck to respond. And so again, Virginia's doing that. Your state agencies are rushing toward this. Higher ed institutions are focused on this. There's always more. And we point out some ways. Yes, ma'am, Delegate Maldonado. I got to stop filibustering. Apologies.
Well, thank you, President. Hearing out loud the not necessarily prioritizing crime and people, but finding that balance, and that's that addresses a bit of and so commend you for saying that out loud and your this may not be a fair question, but I'm just gonna.
You always ask good questions.
Thank you, you and the team, and everybody whose hand and mind sort of touched it. I imagine that the final report absolutely took into consideration the federal AI executive order that was issued in December 2025, but then we had something come out a couple of days ago. And I'm just curious as to whether that shifts or changes anything, or if there's contextual guidance that you would want to share with the room, given that there is some additional federal context.
I think, are you talking about the AI literacy
Yeah.
standards guidelines that came out? Yeah, and even today, this is so fast moving. I don't, this report that we turned in January 3rd or 4th, some of it's out of date now. But the general themes, I hope, still are going to be applicable for a period of time. But you're absolutely right. Today, the U.S. Department of Labor offered up a new tool for AI literacy training. I think it's Make America AI Literate. That's not a good acronym like some other, but it's incredibly fast moving. And so, we've got to be paying attention, but all of us have to be paying attention to these things that are coming at us very quickly. The policy landscape, we didn't really weigh in on that. We focus on workforce and workplace impacts, but what states are doing around regulations and guardrails and protections. And I know you've worked very hard at that. Colorado's revisiting their state. They were kind of first mover in putting some regulations in place, and Colorado's revisit. No one has the answers. Back to one of my early points, no one has the answers. We're going to figure this out together, but it's just staying tuned into all that's evolving. I hope that's maybe not precise is what you're looking for. Yeah.
There was a very fresh off the press
Yeah.
today. This week.
Yeah.
If there was anything else to add to the or
It's just something every day. Anthropic issued a new report today as well, and they had another one last month. But it's all very relevant. But I still think it's consistent with the themes, where the needs are and the opportunities are so far. Thank you for all you're doing to stay focused on this.
Thank you. I think we need to talk about this for hours. I knew it was going to be hard to wrangle this one. Just to quick shake here. I'm happy to hear that Virginia is well positioned, and now is our job to continue to stay well positioned and ahead of an ever moving, ever evolving situation. So appreciate your work. Thank you, Andrew, Mike. Certainly, I'm sure there will be further questions if people want to reach out to you via email or call.
Please.
But appreciate all that you've done on this, and will continue to do. All right, let's move on to a big portion of the agenda. We've got several applications before us, and so I will turn it to Sarah to give us an overview of those for our consideration.
Fantastic. Can everyone hear me okay? I should folks in the back. I'll try to raise my voice. I know I'm speaking away from you, but I want to make sure the entire room can hear. Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I would add to that really fascinating presentation is something I don't think we talked about, and that is there are a number of industries which are still having very acute labor shortages. And what the research has suggested, not this particular report, but other research, is that those industries tend to be the slowest to adopt these types of tools. So in addition to being an opportunity for CVEN and Mr. Dobson's company to increase its productivity, we do have a demographic challenge facing us as a Commonwealth and as a nation. And so, adoption of machine learning, artificial intelligence through business process improvements could really help some of those industries that are consistently challenged with labor shortages, address some of that need. So, thank you for letting me espouse that.
No,
I've already talked to Mike and team about that. There is another plus side that I'm always thinking about. That's a later topic. This is a process that we could not do with AI, and that is the application review. Although Mayor and I have been brainstorming, Dr. Holmes and I, on some ways that DHCD can continue to explore ways around business process improvements. We received 12 applications this cycle from the regions, and I'm going to share a little bit about those with you today. I want to just remind the members, and for our newest member, this is the project development framework that Go Virginia embraces. If you can imagine your industry target at the center of this diagram, what you see in the periphery are the 4 funding priorities that the state board has established. It is a very holistic strategy. So if you can imagine an industry like manufacturing in the center, the challenge or opportunity for each region is to develop sites to support that industry, to develop a workforce system that actively and proactively supports that industry, to develop an ecosystem or resource-rich ecosystem for early-stage firms in advanced manufacturing, not just to create new businesses, but also to help larger firms solve problems, right? And pull new technology into their business. And then cluster scale up, which is really kind of manifest in this frame as a new or emerging opportunity, nascent, or a pivot strategy. So, we have seen some examples of entire industries that need to reposition themselves. So how can Go Virginia as a resource help support that? Next slide, please. Before I get into the details, I want to talk about the application process again, because I want there to be no mystery about the application process. Applications are first submitted and processed through our very capable regional council. This dual governance structure is by design, and if folks would like to talk more about the value of this process, I'm happy to do that. So the regional councils receive vet these applications, which are then advanced to DHCD. The Department for Housing and Community Development is the administrative agency for this program. And my staff, in fact, Sarah too, we complete a technical review of all of the applications. We're looking for the completeness of the applications, all the necessary attachments. We want to make sure that they're in their full and present form so that we can help support the board in making their decision. We do have what we call a work group review process, which involves state board members, which we can certainly talk more about. Pitch calls, the regional councils are given an opportunity to present their project, and we do this using virtual platform teams. The feedback loop process informs the regional councils. It allows the applicants to address any outstanding questions, and then staff prepares the final work with recommendations for the board. Then that's presented to the board for consideration. You're going to see one of 3 options: to approve an application, to defer it, or to not approve it. And I've just referenced some of the conditions under which those things could happen. And then after this body makes a decision, staff works to bring these projects to contract. Next slide. The evaluation criteria are detailed here and have been established by the board and also informed by the enabling legislation, economic impact, regional collaboration, project readiness, and sustainability. And for folks that have been involved in reviews, probably hear this in your sleep, because I'm always kind of reminding folks of, listen, this is what we need to think about as we're evaluating the applications. Next slide. All right, we had 9 project proposals, and I'd like to take an opportunity to just recognize the folks that participated. Board members included Cliff Lee, John Peterson, Thomas Ransom, Emily O'Quinn, Haywood Fralin, John King, Ben Davenport, and Nancy Agee. And I'd just like to continue to encourage members. One, I think is an important way as a member to get engaged in the decision-making process. And I think I heard Mr. King say yesterday, it's really helped him learn and grow as a board member, just to see the variety of applications. We also had a number of subject matter experts that joined us this round. It is a long list, but I do want to tell you, Shara and the team, we've got a deep bench of folks to assist us, and we invite subject matter experts based on their industry specialization, or on the investment strategy. So if it's workforce and we need that level of expertise, but it also could be in life sciences, biotech, and we usually try to find kind of a point of intersection. So subject matter experts this round included Nicole Overly, who's the Commissioner of Virginia Works, Graham Griffith, Director of Aerospace and Defense Innovation at the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, Eddie Amos, retired Vice President of Technology at General Electric, also previously served as the Region 2 Council Chair, and is just a really brilliant mind. We're happy to invite Eddie to participate in this new capacity. Wendy Kang, who's the Executive Director of the Virginia Office of Education Economics at BEDP, Emily Potter, Director of Software and Cybersecurity at BEDP, Randy Stamper, Associate Vice Chancellor of Career and Education Workforce Program for the Virginia Community College System, Ike Evrenan, Director of Advanced Materials at BEDP, Kelly Davis, who is the Associate Director of Curriculum Instruction and Innovation at the Virginia Department of Education, Scott Denny, Senior Program Manager for Advanced Air Mobility at the Virginia Department of Aviation, Chris Sadler, Senior Director of Unmanned Systems and Public Safety at the Virginia Innovation Partnership Corporation, Lynn McDaniel, Director of Smart Data Entrepreneurial Ecosystems at VIPC, Angela Lawhorn, Director of Career Education Programs and Workforce Partnerships at the Virginia Community College System, Grace Vesta, who serves as the Director of Talent Partnerships at the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, Ryan Hall, who's the Executive Director of the Shenandoah Community Capital Fund, Abigail Patterson, who's Manager of Sites and Buildings at VEDP. So we had quite a lot of participation from what we would call sister agencies, where we were kind of mission adjacent. And that was a really exciting opportunity, I think, for everyone to have that complimentary review. We have 9 projects, proposals under the per capita application category. And I think that's important for folks to remember. There are 2 tranches of funds. One of those is allocated to regions on a per capita basis. So we would call these the regional allocations. And then the competitive fund, which is a statewide fund. 9 project proposals in this category, 5 out of 9 regions participated. We provided you with just a summary of the industries that were represented by this set, and the investment strategies are listed at the bottom of the slide. Next slide. So what I'm going to do now is kind of discuss each project in brief. The board summary is in your packet. So feel free to review here, and I can see Ms. Widgeon's on page 18 of her packet. Thank you. If you want to jump to the page here and follow along. This project is the Hampton Roads Playbook Sites Planning Grant. We're going to start with sites and infrastructure in terms of the project review as well. The applicant, the Eastern Virginia Regional Industrial Facility Authority, is requesting $296,450 to expand the inventory of shovel-ready sites in Hampton Roads by deploying site readiness analyst and applying what they call the deal framework. So Hampton Roads, in this kind of evolving economic environment, is really reassessing what their opportunities are. DEAL actually stands for Defense, Energy, Aerospace, Logistics, and these are the industries that they feel at this moment in time they can be most competitive in pursuing. You can see the participating localities. This is a lot for a single project, but I'd just like to note here that in parens, these organizations are contributing cash through their participation with the ERIPA, the Eastern Virginia Regional Industrial Facility Authority, is a regional entity that's established to allow these partners to cost and benefit share in site development. Ben, I know this is RIPAs or something I know your region has a lot of experience
And
with.
just to that point, Bill Virginia was founded, with the purpose of trying to get regions to work together. Perfect. And the news is that the education is working, and, it was great hearing that area, which at times is not real cohesive, I think, but on this, they certainly are.
Thank you, Ben, for that. Yes, you were involved in the review here. So they would like to expand the inventory of shovel-ready industrial sites. The products are listed below. The match is available, including the local match, and the total project budget is indicated there. The work group recommended this project for approval. Next slide. This project is in Region 8, and you guys see the map that's kind of in the foreground there. Region 8's in green. So we're talking about the Shenandoah Valley. The targeted industries for this project are listed above. The applicant, Clark County, is requesting $250,000 to expand their inventory of shovel-ready sites, specifically by completing infrastructure design, topographical survey, and site characterization work for a 40-acre site known as Camp 7. Camp 7 is actually in White Coast. The participating localities include Clark County and Cody. Frederick, my apologies, I don't see it on the slide or my notes, and Frederick County. And they are going to be participating through some joint investment in utility infrastructure. The request, the match listed, the work group recommends this application for approval. Next slide, please. This is for a project called the Hampton Roads Playbook at Implementation. The target industry here is, I would say, shipbuilding and ship repair, but also defense-related supply chains. The applicant is the Hampton Roads Alliance, and we consider this an application submitted under the cluster scale-up. Hampton Roads Alliance recently completed a document called the Hampton Roads Playbook. The deal framework, which again is defense, energy, aerospace, and logistics, was identified as the priority near-term opportunities. The defense phase this is designed to execute one of the referenced strategies in that playbook. Recognizing that Hampton Roads leads the nation in per capita Department of Defense spending, this project utilizes Go Virginia funds to address supply chain strain. The initiative's built around high-level engagement, specialized consultancy, again, establishing the ambassador corps and developing expert analysis to bridge the gap between regional small businesses and major regional defense businesses. So this is really about strengthening the supply chain. Beyond local business support, the project also emphasizes global positioning through some already developing international partnerships and the Office Alliance. Key deliverables include the production of a defense capabilities matrix and some other notable assets. The Virginia request is $746,000. The match is listed, $143,000 of that is coming from units of local government. And you can see again the level of participation on this project. This project has been recommended for approval as well. This next slide speaks to a project in Region 2, specifically in the greater Lynchburg, I would call it sub-region. Randolph College requests $686,340 to expand the pool of qualified mechanical engineers to meet regional needs for mechanical engineering talent, specifically to support the advanced manufacturing industry. The participating localities, as you can see, include the city of Lynchburg, Amherst, Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance on behalf of its member localities, which are listed there as well. They're going to be equipping a new mechanical and materials engineering lab and a workforce training and applied manufacturing lab, as well as developing a program-specific makerspace in another building on campus. They're also going to be building what they call a course-based undergraduate research experience or cures in place of standard extracurricular labs. So really looking to kind of embed some real-world experience into their training program. The outcomes are listed there, and this project as well was recommended for approval. I would like noted that this particular project submitted what's called the local match waiver. Okay, the Virginia State Board's created a policy says that a certain percentage of the match must be contributed by a unit of local government participating in the project. Further, there were two criteria for match waiver. One was that 50% or more of the participating localities were met the definition for fiscal distress, that would be a consideration to approve. The second is if the partnering localities did not meet that particular threshold, but were unable to contribute cash at this time, the reason for that would be presented. In this particular case, 50% or more of the participating localities meet that definition for fiscal distress. So we would recommend this one for approval, along with the local match waiver. Next slide. All right, this is the FAA Uncrewed Aerial Systems College Initiative and Talent Pipeline. Advancing, and I know we're throwing a lot of acronyms here. BBLOS is beyond visual line of sight capability in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And this BBLOS, BIDLOS, is really an emerging area of interest because obviously this is when we're working with an uncrewed system that is flying in the sky. And when the operator on the ground is unable to see it, we're moving into kind of a different type of regulatory environment. And those rules are not all yet written, but coming. And so Hampton Roads has really put a pretty tall flag in the ground, recognizing some of their unique capabilities in uncrewed systems, not just aerial, but also in other capacities. So the applicant here is Eastern Shore Community College. They're requesting $788,700 to increase the pool of qualified workers and establishing a UAS workforce development program aligned with regional needs. They're requesting funding to establish a workforce and business development program, expand credentialing opportunities, actually launch some new curricula, and create a living laboratory that will allow participants, students to participate in real world UAS missions. This is on the Eastern Shore. Show of hands who've been to the shore. Okay, it's an environment that creates a lot of really unique learning opportunities, and also an area which, Wallops is there, and there's lots of interesting things happening. So, this project, the outcomes are very impressive, for the performance period of this grant. They're requesting the funding listed and the match. And they've also submitted a local match waiver, and we recommend this for approval with the match waiver.
What question, would you compare the two? I'm just, if you see the output, I know it's different businesses. I mean,
Yes.
just the other one, the one before that, just a lot, 2.7 million, this one's 1.3. And the output is very different. I know one is mechanical engineers, one is, a different, like much lighter training, but the output seems pretty expensive, 1.4. I know we're only making half of it.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to compare, how do you guys look at that?
So I think that's a great point. So the difference between these two applications is how the funds are being spent. So the majority of this request is in equipment. So okay, so one-time capital expenses,
That is ongoing.
and then it's going to continue to produce these results over time. So that is something that we're always kind of looking at and thinking about, is this cost per output model.
I'd make a recommendation on the output you should put for spending on it, because I'm just looking at that outcome.
Yeah,
It's pretty expensive.
Once you're talking about the number in here,
Yeah.
right,
yeah, you can only capture the first couple.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do in the board summary, we are trying to provide just a brief paragraph on how the resources are going to be used. But I think I hear you that,
So, just curious, out of their 1.4 million, how much is on
on CapEx.
Yeah, just weird.
Yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head, but we could certainly start including that in future.
Just giving from a, it's interesting that when I keep saying these, there are a lot of similar patterns.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, what do we value in internal place? There's 20, here's that value, $5,000, then I don't know. What is the value of a job placement? And the reason is that if I was just from a private sector, I would say, okay, you bring these up, what is the value we place on them? And then I would measure that, what has been our ROI? That's simple. I see the same things, like I don't know what it's worth. And I know training 40 people, it depends if it's like an equivalent of, you spend, you know, the equivalent of, let's just say, 18 credit hours in college, you know, versus 3 credit hours. I don't know. But to me, I would just, as you look at this, it's just hard to know, like, you know, I know one new program implemented is a tougher one to measure, but some of these is like, what is a job for? What would we say it is worth?
But also, yeah, but also, we can.
Okay.
Excellent segue.
Oh, there you go.
To a later.
Okay. I'm just trying to.
Mr. Chang, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, so yeah,
Yeah.
add them to our committee. Exactly. Right. I think
Just let you know that there's a limit. You cannot measure these the same way you would not.
Yeah, I know you can check, but just you make an attempt, because I'm an intern, let's say, in Roanoke is different than an internship in another city, let's say, and especially in areas that we're trying to develop. So you're
The
limited.
horizons are lower here in terms of
Yeah.
what they're looking at.
Okay, yeah, okay, but it looks like we have a group that's doing it, so.
There's some analysis on the question of ROI.
Yes.
And how we look at that, how we evaluate that. And the answer, I think, is that it's squishy and.
Yes, it's here. Work on it. What you read is state does need to at some point identify a system that speaks to how much you actually should be spending on training in various industries. Because it's a quality group.
Because I can see 100 companies, 100 organizations that would want this, and then how do you differentiate? So you look at who, you know, like any investment, you look at the ROI. And so, because you have limited, and there's lots of groups, an imperfect system that people are applying because they have to build up to Virginia. There's 10X organizations that probably have a higher ROI in the state, they just aren't applying. And so I'm just, when I look at the system, just, and it might be simple as 40 people trained and 35 or 80, so this is a highly, you know, this is one that we really want to invest in, this and this is a category A, which means we're willing to spend, it's worth $10,000 to $20,000, 15 to 20. To me, you can come up with some system, not some mechanism supposed to, every time you look at it, it's subjective. There's always a way to do that. That's what it is.
Great feedback. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Reggie. We agree with you wholeheartedly. We are working on a lot of different models
Yeah, those are
for
great.
estimating return on investment, cost per output, recognizing this project, for example, is much different than the one before and looking, well, should we just look at it by different industry verticals and maybe that becomes a standard? Or should it?
It's just a baseline, like, I think they're very different, and I get that.
Yeah.
And just to stay, but I think like in intern placements.
Yeah.
We can start thinking what we want to take.
At least a range.
Yeah, range. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I think you're gonna be excited, to see some of the work that we've been doing. So I would encourage you and Jim to maybe connect, and we'd love to have you. I'll speak on behalf of the committee on the permanent performance evaluation.
All right.
All right, this project is the Hampton Roads Mobility Innovation Center. Obviously, the focus here is uncrewed systems. The applicant, the Newport News Economic Development Authority, is requesting a little over $3 million to expand the pool of qualified workers in Northern Virginia Region 5 to establish the Mobility Innovation Center. They're going to be developing an FAA-compliant drone testing environment to support workforce development and innovation in unmanned systems. Mobility Innovation System, or MIC, is an initiative designed to address both infrastructure and talent gaps within the Hampton Roads aerospace and advanced mobility sector. They're going to be establishing an FAA-compliant, beyond visual line of sight, and counter UAS, which is something of great interest, obviously, to the military and other partners. And they're going to provide a regulated setting for workforce training and obviously aviation testing. This activity is aligned very well with the recently completed talent pathway study done. Hampton Roads Region 5 identified uncrewed systems as a strategic opportunity, and has really done some, I think, some deep thinking about how you build or continue to support the development of this industry. I'd also just like to note that Newport News, the airport, has been just an incredible partner, I think, on this project. You can see that the city of Hampton, the city of Newport News are jointly participating in this project, but the particular site is actually on airport property, not immediately adjacent to the personal aircraft operations that are still occurring there. And they have a number of educational partners, okay? Which is how we get to these, I think, you know, really exciting outcomes. The match is available, 1.53 million. The total project budget's listed. The work group recommended to approve. I would just like to make note that this was a return application. I want to commend Hampton Roads on kind of accepting our coaching, asking some challenging questions. And also the participation of the Virginia Department of Aviation and VIPC, because they're kind of owning, if you will, or overseeing, or even provide a regulatory framework for a lot of this work. So their input into this process is really what's led in part to this recommendation. Oh, that's a great point. So,
That's important.
yeah, for new and not so new members, Go Virginia grants are reimbursement based. Not only that, the applicant has to demonstrate that they're spending the match in proportion to their request to draw down funds. So for example, they couldn't spend all of the state's money, get to spend their portion and be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's no longer available. It's got to be spent in proportion. Each of our contracts includes very detailed milestones, quarterly reporting, we're tracking outcomes. So for a project like this, for example, we'll be working with the Newport News Economic Development Authority and just monitoring their progress towards these goals and the specific milestones. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions about that process?
Sorry. I have one. And not to get too far in the reasons application, but I noticed in many of them, there's strong partnerships, but I don't see any of the universities partnering here with this one. Hampton University or ODU or anyone in this particular application.
Right, so that may have just been an oversight on the board summary, because those universities, were most definitely noted in the application itself. We recommend that, should the board decide to approve this project, that those partnerships be formalized a bit more, because they're gonna be the primary reporting organizations to get us to achieving these types of outcomes. So we'll have more documentation on that, and I suspect we'll have that as kind of an early milestone when we develop the contract for this project. Thank you. All right, next slide. All right, this project is called Start in Hampton Roads. Again, Region 5, you see that's Hampton Roads green in the map in the background there. They're going to be focusing on a number of industries. The Hampton Roads Chamber Foundation is the applicant, and you can see the level of participation, all these organizations contributing cash through an organization called the Hampton Roads Workforce Council. Okay, so they're the Workforce Investment Board in the region, and they administer funds on behalf of the member localities. The goal here is to expand the pool of qualified workers. They want to create a talent attraction portal. Hampton Roads Starting Hampton Roads is an initiative designed to scale what really was a VEDP supported pilot to create a comprehensive front door for job seekers, students, and transitioning service members. The platform will utilize a CRM driven lead management system to help automate the journey, if you will, from initial interest to employer hiring. Because there are certainly a number of jobs in Hampton Roads that are not filled currently. And they're trying to position themselves as a career destination. So the product here is obviously to expand the website portal, which is really currently a test landing page. And there were some pretty compelling statistics behind this work pilot. And the outcomes are listed here. Based on the work group discussion application review, this is one that was recommended for. Next slide. The next project is coming from Region 6. Again, that is an area characterized as three subregions: the Greater Fredericksburg area, Middle Peninsula, and the Northern Neck. The applicant in this case is Stafford County Public Schools. They are going to be partnering with Caroline County Public Schools, and the industries they're going to be targeting here are primarily IT, data center related, distribution, logistics, and professional services, which I know is quite a broad swath. The Virginia funding will support the establishment of 7 new workforce pathways across the existing Edge Academy in Caroline and the Epic and Ascent Centers in Stafford County. So they're going to collaborate on the development of these new pathways. These particular centers I've mentioned were launched about 17 months ago, developed through advisory committee of industry experts and regional stakeholders, including Germanna Community College. The proposed project will expand programming, developing 7 different pathways, and those are provided in more detail, I believe, in your board summary. Stafford's going to use the grant funding to purchase essential equipment, develop standardized curriculum, facilitate professional learning, and Caroline County has a slightly different work plan. The outcomes are listed here. The Go Virginia request was $965,601. The work group recommended the project for approval. And for folks that are curious, so the Go Virginia State Board has endorsed talent development projects that go as deep as middle school. I think the board has appreciated more of a career pathway model. So kind of what's the road to somewhere. So for projects that are going deeper, such as middle school, understanding a commitment to make sure there's an opportunity for high school students and also aligned with post-secondary opportunities.
That's a question.
Yeah,
Do they, I mean, this is a private company, Future,
it's a nonprofit.
the nonprofit. So they must give you numbers on, this is how much it's gonna cost us to train 340 people.
That's right.
So you had, I assume every applicant gives you the data.
Yes,
So you had the data on every new applicants we turned down, the ones we have.
yes, sir.
So I'm just curious, with that, we must have looked at that and seen patterns.
Yes.
Right, is that-
We've got 138 projects now that are completed. We've got 91 active projects still in the system. So we are just looking at data to note those sorts of patterns. And we're using a lot of different tools to do.
Yeah, you could just take all that, I'm not trying to make it so simple, go to an AI, and AI will come out and say.
We hear
this
you.
is-
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it'll tell
agree.
you what that.
Yep, so, full application package for folks that are interested includes a narrative, of course, there's going to tell us how you're gonna do this and that. And then we do require provide a budget template. So there's some consistency in the data, meaning we forced people spending into certain categories. That's something else that I think we can start to explore. What's the right budgetary combination? Are the assets being used?
So what they, I'm sorry, just like on the 60 insurance place, they would have said, this is what we're asking, we're spending $3.6 million. And the intern's place is costing us this. So would that be something they would give you in your application?
That's a little bit of stretch, as I was just gonna say that how we attribute or distribute the $2.4 million request across those outcomes is the question.
No, I'm actually giving you a different view. I don't think we worry about us because we're not the experts. Future Kings is the expert. And they're saying, I'm asking you, I'm spending 3.6 million.
Yeah.
So make them.
Yeah.
They're the experts, and then so I would make a requirement to say, if that's your outcomes, how do you tie that back? So put the work on them,
I love it.
right? And so then they tell you what it's worth, and then you're getting collectively across 50, 60, 70 organizations
Yeah.
to do this. And trust me, they'll do it because they want this money.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're saying you want to have a range for one person trained costs between this and this?
If they have a budget, 3 points, they'll just say it's a private sector. Probably means I want 3.6 million, and this is the outcomes. What I would do is just tie it back and say, okay, how much does it cost you to train 340 people? Right, because if I, let's say you want to reduce it, say, wow, I want to train 340, what's it cost to train 250? So there's, yeah, it costs us 10 grand a person to train or whatever. And so, again, what I'm saying, to make it simple, I would just, every application you get right now, you tell me what's that costing you. And then put the work on them.
Yeah.
And then you verify, but it's too hard for you to do it if you don't have the data.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna say what it costs?
Right.
You're not gonna be able to.
Distribute that.
And then what you do is you just simply just compare them.
Yeah.
35 different organizations. Tell you to say, well, this organization is telling me to train someone for 100 hours, cost this. What's the delivery mechanism?
Yeah.
That you're saying is 12,000, this one's 5,000. So what is it? And you can actually help them say, well, the other group saying 12, and the 5,000 to deliver it, and you're saying 12,000.
Yeah.
What's the reason? And then maybe you can even say, maybe you can talk to this group, because they're doing it for 5.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things. But get, push the work on that.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I would do. And then they'll do it.
I think
Because they want the money, I'm
I
sure.
think it's a great recommendation. But we are looking at the data and looking at this kind of cost per output model, and there may be some things that, I know there are some things we could do with our budget, and we'd let folks input on that so that we can get a little bit more discerning on that. The other important thing to remember is these are the outcomes or the outputs that are gonna be produced during the grant period. I think a big thing Go Virginia is really interested in is building kind of enduring capabilities or capacity within regions. So not only, are these outputs going to be produced during the grant performance period, but Future Kings is gonna be establishing the infrastructure to be able to provide long-term support for students, that are interested in the life science industry. So this particular project, Future Kings, as I've mentioned, is a nonprofit. They're requesting 2.38 million to expand regional life science workforce pipelines from middle school through graduate education, laboratory training, credentials, internships, and employment pathways. It is designed to build a talent pipeline for life sciences in the region. The project targets students from middle school through graduate education, focusing on preparing participants for bioscience careers. This project is a little different in that they're going to be creating work-based learning opportunities for graduate students. And they are also going to be, those graduate students, reaching back in the pipeline, if you will, and providing some instruction to cohorts of students in grade 6 through 12 as well. The Future Kings has been recognized by the American Council of Education and to deliver curriculum that's approved for 6 new workforce credentials. By introducing 6 new credentials. And you can see the outcomes during the grant performance period. 300 will be awarded to participating students. The program builds on a previous Go Virginia pilot that proposes scaling training across multiple cohorts and combining some of these experiences. The training is going to be delivered through some partnerships with Future Kings, a company called Afari Biosciences, DEMS, and other regional partners. The project will also engage employers in other ways, including the internships that you see mentioned there and further curriculum design. Based on the work group discussion, and this is one of those projects that went back to the region for further discussion through the feedback loop process, but the work group recommends this project.
Before we go to the competitive, Sarah, just want to see if anybody has any questions on these that we have presented so far. We've got 3 more to get through before we take some action. So just want to engage.
Which one we give out here?
Our annual appropriation is 30.1 million.
30 million, and just so I understand, is this 2.3 on the 30, or is it just spread out? I'm just trying to.
Sure. So the 30 million is in budget, divided into 2 primary tranches. A portion of the funding is allocated to the regions on a per capita basis. So this particular $2.4 million charge, if you will, is against Region 7, which is Northern Virginia's per capita allocation, which is around $5 million a year.
This is half of Northern Virginia's budget.
Yes.
And just on the bigger, forget the region, just for the 30. Is that like, I saw one that was 3 or 4, or the 3, the last one. So this is about, how much is this? Like, is this 10 million out of the 30 million? Is that the way to look at these proposals?
Yes. And in fact, when we get through with our presentation today, it's about 15.5 million of 30 as a stick
Half
out
of it's like,
today.
and that's all counted towards the 30.
Yes.
It's not spread out, okay.
Yes. Now, again, the funds aren't distributed in one tranche. We'll manage these projects over 2 and sometimes 3-year periods,
So like that 2.3 is that, so that's over
over 2 years.
2 years. So if you look at it, it's 1.3 million
Yes,
out of the 30.
Yeah.
Is that the way to
yes.
look at that?
That's
It comes down to budgets.
The promo cycle, that's very. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Break it down. So you're coming to me down.
We are. So we'll have one more meeting for this fiscal year.
What's the fiscal year?
It begins on July 1 and ends on June 3rd.
Yeah. You want also can spend the money.
Yes, on good project.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
Yeah, of course, it's only been a good project.
Yeah,
And Reggie, I think, it's historically we have not used one.
Okay.
it's a good project.
I'm gonna say one, sorry, just one thing to push things, I had another idea, to push things to them. If you went to them and said, hey, in 1 week, turn it around and said, so give you 2.3, we're gonna give you 1.3. You're really gonna give them 2.3, just say, we're gonna give you 1.3. So what would that do? And tell us how you reduce it, then you can figure out that
Yeah.
1.3 split.
I
I'm
like
just telling you, they're gonna say, okay, we can train 220 people, we can do this, and they'll tell you what they're spending their money. I'm just giving you I'm not saying do it, I'm just saying,
Yes, sir.
I would you say that this is one of the programs that you're recommended for approval?
It is.
Yes. Can we move on there?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Let's move on.
Thank you for that.
just, so one goal is the board, I'm allowed to ask questions.
Well,
He's a member of the.
Okay, I'm sorry,
yes.
I apologize.
No, I think, many of these suggestions are, I mean, this is applicable to really our process of moving forward. So I appreciate you asking this kind of question.
And it is important to understanding, how we look at these things and the big picture, how it fits in. So it's good discussion, certainly, but I also, we've got a large agenda, so
Okay.
definitely want to continue through
If we're gonna make it.
back to you, Sarah.
Next slide. Now, we're gonna move into what we call our competitive grant applications, and as I mentioned in the budget, the 30.1 million is provided, actually, the 3 tranches, but for project awards, I'll just say 2. These 3 project proposals are requesting access to the competitive fund. There are 2 different tracks for that. One of it is a single region can pursue it. The other is a multi-region application, and we've got, one of those each, I think. Actually, we've got 2 multi-region and 1 single region project. Totaling 5.7 million. These are the industry clusters named and the investment strategies are presented below. Next slide, please. Okay, this project is called the AM2 Initiative, Regions 2 and 3, which again is Roanoke and Southside. Are partnering on this project. Obviously, the part of industry is advanced manufacturing. The New River Valley Regional Commission is the applicant. You can see the level of requests. The participating locality list is almost too big for a single slide. But I would say.
How are you?
Hi, can we mute online, please? We're getting some feedback. Thank you.
So, I think, as far as regional collaboration goes, you can see it, and again, this is active across both regions. The AM2 initiative, is designed to really develop the advanced materials manufacturing sector further in parts of regions 2 and 3. There are 4 key strategies at work here. I won't go through them in detail. They're presented in the board summary. Products, they're going to create a fellows program, at 2 AM2 studios, which are physical environments that are going to provide technical assistance to companies for prototyping, testing, and experiential learning. The establishment of an AM2 consortium, which will create an industry leadership team to help guide these projects as well. The AM2 Innovation Fund, which is going to provide some technical assistance, not direct grants, to companies in the space, and also to develop a nationally recognized credential for advanced materials manufacturing in partnership with the Virginia Manufacturing Association. You can see the outcomes listed. Now that's during the grant period. They actually process a couple of investment categories to be fair. You see some workforce-related outcomes. You also see some cluster scale-up related outcomes, and some products that are substantive. The Go Virginia request was 4.23 million. The match is present. The total project budget is listed there. The work group is recommending this project for approval. Next slide. And on the topic of AI, Region 6 and 9 are partnering on an AI mobile unit for workforce and education. 6 and 9. Cyberbytes Foundation is a nonprofit who's working on behalf of the participating localities you see listed. Again, an eligible applicant is a unit of local government, working with partnership on a board organization working on their behalf. So Cyberbytes is the nonprofit partner. They're going to address the limited availability of accessible industry credential aligned AI literacy programming. And this particular mobile lab is going to operate in partnership with the Academy of Technology and Innovation at the University of Mary Washington. They're going to explore AI literacy, ethics, and certification. They're going to use these units to access students in a variety of different ways and locations, including high schools, workforce development centers, community colleges, and even on-site with businesses, which is something I think we definitely heard from the Virginia chamber study, so industry adoption. They're going to be offering a couple, some opportunities to prepare for industry recognized credentials. There's a credentialing organization called CompTIA for folks that are in the IT space. It doesn't surprise me that CompTIA is kind of first to market with some AI certifications. We know CompTIA well, and I personally have a lot of confidence on their the rigor around some of their credentials and preparatory coursework. So it's really built around CompTIA's AI plus competencies, which are being framed and influenced by business, and that's certainly changing there. They're going to be delivering AI mobile workshops. I've mentioned that each workshop will serve 20 to 30 participants at a time. A defining feature of the unit is the integration of dual enrollment. So high school students participating in this coursework will be able to earn college credit, which is certainly of value. And this project has been recommended for approval by the work group. You can see the outcomes. 2,080 people trained. That's a combination of high school students and teachers. That's a big force multiplier, I think, in this project. It is going to train a cadre, if you will, of educators who will then they themselves be able to begin embedding some AI learning into their coursework as well. Next slide.
Local match waiver.
Absolutely. This application was accompanied by a local match waiver, and the work group recommended approving the application. Thank you. CNC machining program at Rappahannock Community College. The Education Foundation is requesting $431,575 to address the growing workforce needs for manufacturers. This is, I think, a very innovative and interesting project. Rappahannock Community College is going to launch a CNC machining training program. They're going to develop a CNC machinist training pathway, establish a CNC training center in Lancaster County. And I would encourage board members to kind of learn your geography if you've not been to Lancaster. It is a beautiful part of the state. But there are often limited opportunities to receive this type of specialized training. It's important to remember too that folks in this part of the state are very often commuting into Hampton Roads for employment opportunities, right? So this is very relevant training for Region 6 and I would say 5 as well. This is being done through an innovative partnership, I believe, with Turn Dynamics, which is actually a company located in Lancaster. They are actually going to be providing the training space and the instructor support. So one of the big challenges in delivering career technical education at community college, and I would say high school level, is the lack of instructors. And so here we have an industry partner willing to offer up one of their own team members to provide faculty support. And the workforce board is involved in this project. the work group recommends this project for approval.
Thank you, Sarah. That was a lot to get through.
I apologize, with a local match waiver, which my staff has verified is eligible.
Appreciate that clarification. Okay. Well, we've heard a lot. We are blessed with a big group of projects before us this quarter. So thank you for hanging in there through all those descriptions. So we can vote on these in a block if we would like to put them forward as recommended. We can pull an item from the block. We can also have some further discussions and questions if anybody would like to get additional details on any of these projects. Any discussion?
Yeah, one comment.
Okay.
You know, just take a lot of.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
You did. You don't have to.
I think we've had several projects that have come to Go Virginia now, and I'll call them town attraction, portal-like activity, portal-like activity. There's one because of the I think it's important now, since we've had a number of these, to go back and look at what is the impact of these projects. So while we did recommend this one for approval, we're saying maybe we should refer this to the governance and policy committee, look at this and decide, do we want to continue to run the projects and whether we are effective use of our fund, since we probably have enough without it. Go back and study.
That's an excellent idea.
But we didn't want to not approve this one because we haven't approved like projects like this.
Okay, so you're not recommending that we remove
No.
the project from the block, just for future projects?
We pause these and let's
Before
go back
we-
and study, you know, is it an effective use?
Okay, great. So we would push this topic of talent portal applications to the governance and policy committee, of which you are chair, so.
Yes.
Myself. Well noted, Cliff, thank you.
Yeah.
Any concerns with that approach? Okay, we will consider that, move to the governance and policy committee agenda for further analysis.
It's possible that, we have the waiver, we're supposed to ask for the match waiver.
Yes.
Can staff provide a brief explanation prior to the board meeting so that it's easy as done with?
Okay, so you'd like more information about the waiver, whether they qualify for the 50% of,
I'm giving certain rich waivers and the others not waivers.
okay,
And so it'd be nice to have an explanation as to why we gave the waiver to keep it moving. That's all.
okay. We can have the word something. Do that? Yeah. Thank you.
I should say, so we asked the waivers.
Understand. Yes, appreciate that. All right,
I move the adoption. This block.
okay, so
Thank you.
we have a motion and a second to move forward all of these 12 projects before us in a block with the recommendation of staff. Is that correct, Ben?
Correct.
That's your motion? Okay, any discussion on that? All right, that will be a roll call vote, so. Go ahead and conduct the roll call, please.
Nancy Agee. Yay. Reggie Argwal.
Yay.
Jim Chang.
Yay.
Ben Davenport.
Yay.
Senator Craig Eads.
Yay.
Bill Dobson.
Yay.
Cliff Fleet.
Yay.
Haywood Braylon.
Yay.
Joel Griffin.
Yay.
Kenneth Johnson.
Okay.
Delegate Terry Kilgore.
Yay.
Don King.
Yes.
Senator Luis Lucas.
Aye.
Delegate Michelle Maldenhar. Senator Ryan McDougall. Emily O'Quinn.
Aye.
John Peterson. Fuad Purton. Thomas Ransom.
Yes.
Delegate Luke Torian.
Aye.
Delegate Virgil Thornton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much. And thank you to staff. This was a really big order. I know there's a lot of work that goes into this analysis, which is excellent. And, you know, just the time that we spent on this, multiply that by many, many times. The amount of effort between regional council work and getting it to staff. So thank you, everyone. I think we've got some excellent projects here that we just approved and some good allocation of our dollars. So thank you for that work. All right, moving along on the agenda, we are going to hear from our committee chairs. The next item on the agenda would be to hear from the Program Performance and Evaluation Committee and Chair Jim Chang. Please update us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Program Performance and Evaluation Committee met on February 4th, 2026, and also earlier today before lunch. The February 4th meeting was a refresher on what had been assigned to the committee based on the 2023 JLR recommendations and those recommendations that are completed to date, and the two remaining JLR recommendations to many people, including you. One, the JLR recommendation number 4, assessing long-term impacts of the program. And 2, JLR recommendation number 12, reassessing the return on investment for the ROI model. The committee charter was also approved at this meeting. At today's committee meeting, the committee reviewed and endorsed issuing a RFP, request for proposal, to assess the long-term impacts of individual Go Virginia projects. Further discussion was held regarding JLR recommendation number 12, the ROI model, and whether the board would like to consider a threshold for requiring a return on investment analysis to be submitted with an application and how that should be completed. A virtual meeting is anticipated sometime in May to make recommendations to the state board, and it's June 9th, probably coming from the 15th. So a new policy can be enacted prior to the start of the new fiscal year. And on behalf of this committee and my other vice committee chairs, we would like to invite anybody that's interested in these topics to join our committees, so we have more eyes on these things. And I think it's all of interest to everybody here. So please join us if you like on these things. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that update. And second, that on committee participation would be great to have some additional voices in the mix on some of these important topics. Okay, next we move to the Governance and Policy Committee, and Chairman Cliff Fleet, you could give us something.
Thank you. We had 2 items that were substantive that we discussed today to update the board on. The first was with regards to planning. JLR had recommended that we expand the amount of money allocated towards planning grants up to $20,000. What this committee had done previously was actually take some things out that had been planning grants because it was spent the budget. Expanded the amount of money that was available for planning grants, that was broadband and site development board. So we had a robust discussion about whether we needed to take additional steps. And always wise, Mr. Fralin over there said that there are planning grants that come between regions that likely will far exceed the $250,000 that's necessary to support that. So what we did is we asked staff to go back and do some work and think about this topic, and then our May meeting, we will reconsider, in particular, whether for multi-region planning grants, we need to have a bigger number. I think we all agree that $250,000 probably is not sufficient for the magnitude of work that would be done on a controlled basis. The second issue we discussed was childcare and whether that was going to be an industry that we were going to fund. We all recognize as a community the importance of childcare to economic development, and it's critical to the future success of the Commonwealth and the future success of families. And we had a very well done presentation from staff, which walked through the amount of money that the Commonwealth of Virginia is spending on childcare today, which quite bluntly, you can barely see our budget in light of what the state is currently spending on childcare. So where we left it is, while we consider childcare to be important, it needs to be a factor in terms of how we think about applicant approval. It was not necessarily a lane of thing that we are going to correct. I think about this, we took no action. What we consider to be very important and when having to be thought about is something that companies and others absolutely should consider, particularly. That's my report.
Okay, thank you for that report. Our next report comes from the Regional Councils Committee, and Chairman John King will give us that update.
Madam Chair, so we had a meeting in fall, and everyone, today, focused on the fall meeting. The committee concluded its discussion on the planning grant analysis, and based on that analysis discussion on regional representative, we chose not to take action for advance the recommendation to raise the limit.
adopted the philosophy of why do today, which you can put off to tomorrow. We also discussed the regional council certification process, the state board's role in ensuring the council continue to meet governance and participation requirements. DHCD provided an update on regional allocation, utilization, and unallocated balances. And finally, the committee received an update on the development of a regional council self-assessment. The assessment was deployed in January and closed on March the 11th. We didn't receive those results. I'm looking forward to leadership on the next steps. And he also heard a presentation of best practices for growth and diversity. So having said that, I'll confirm what you said. We'd love participation. The only thing I have is that the regional council committee appears to be the most popular. So if you want to be part of that.
Healthy conversation here. All right, thank you, John. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a legislative and budget update, and for that, I will turn the meeting to the Director of Department of Housing and Community Development, Dr. Tamara.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few updates on the legislative and budget update this afternoon. The General Assembly, as we all know, adjourned on March 14th. The governor will now review all legislation that passed during the session. The governor has until April 13th to sign, veto, and suggest amendments to legislation. The General Assembly will reconvene on April 22nd to respond to the governor's action. The General Assembly did adjourn without a budget agreement. Special session is tentatively proposed for April 23rd to reconsider the state budget. We're unsure of what the budget will be until the final agreement is reached between the House and Senate. And then just Go Virginia related items. House Bill 1053 would have allowed tobacco commission funding as matching funds for Go Virginia grant. This match was previously allowed until sunset in 2024. The bill did pass the House but failed in the Senate. House Bill 29, which was part of the caboose budget bill, did reduce $10 million from the Go Virginia fund to the state, from Go Virginia to the state general fund, based on the previous biennium budget, and was approved by, that was originally approved by the governor on February 20th. Staff is currently preparing an analysis on the $10 million recapture, including a review of available funds within the competitive fund and previously allocated regional per capita funds. Informed by the decision earlier today, a summary will be presented at the board meeting.
Okay. Right. The next item on the agenda is for some information items, and I will turn to Sarah to give us a brief overview of her presentation.
Absolutely. Folks may or may not be familiar, but this body has given DHCD authority to administratively approve planning grants. And the requests do not exceed or $100,000 or less. We receive those applications on a rolling basis. The objective here is to get the planning, pilot, or feasibility study done as quickly as possible so that they can move forward if viable with an implementation project. The 3 projects that were funded in that manner are listed here, and there are board summaries in your packet.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you, everyone. That is the end of our agenda. I will look forward to seeing you all virtually on June 9th for our next meeting, and the following in-person meeting, which will also be our board retreat, will happen on September 15th. And just want to make sure you mark those calendars because that was an adjustment to the date, given that we were conflicting with Labor Day holiday. So it's September 15th for our next in-person board meeting and retreat, which is always a great opportunity to learn more and to engage and network with folks that are engaged. So with that, I appreciate your participation, and we will see you adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.